Welcome to the Energy and Flexibility Modeling exercise by CCT, and this exercise has been prepared with a joint collaboration with Delta E Plus Research Lab from Simon Fraser University, BC, Canada. And in this exercise, we'll discuss about the importance of residential clean cooking and then implement a simplified method of translating an example policy into numbers and then plugging these numbers to associated parameters. First of all, let's have a quick look on some important WH questions. Let's deep dive into what is residential clean cooking. Energy demand can be categorized broadly into some major sectors, that is residential, commercial, industrial, transport. Electrification of the residential sector refers to the process of providing electricity as the primary source of energy for cooking and heating purposes in households. It involves transitioning away from traditional biomass stoves, such as wood or charcoal, and adopting electric stoves or other available clean cooking technologies. Clean cooking also refers to the use of clean and efficient technologies for cooking and heating purposes, particularly in households and communities. Clean cooking is vital for achieving both Sustainable Development Goal 7, which ensures affordable and sustainable energy access, and also Sustainable Development Goal 5, which ensures gender equity. It plays a crucial role in improving health, empowering women, and promoting sustainability. Traditional cooking methods like open fires and inefficient stoves have detrimental effects on human health, the environment, and socioeconomic development. By transitioning to clean cooking in residential areas, we can address energy poverty, promote renewable energy sources, and enhance energy efficiency as outlined in SDG 7. Moreover, clean cooking directly contributes to gender equity, which is at the core of SDG 5. Ensuring women's access to clean cooking technologies not only improves their health but also empowers them and reduces their time burden. Wrapping it up, clean cooking is an integral part of achieving SDG 5 and 7. It brings us closer to affordable and clean energy as well as an equitable society. Now let's talk about another important question. This question technically can be named as spatial resolution in a modeling paradigm. The electrification of the residential sector can be implemented in both urban and rural areas targeting households that currently rely on biomass stoves. It is particularly relevant in regions where electricity access is limited or unreliable, and where biomass stoves are prevalent. Initiatives can be implemented at the national, regional, or even local level. Depending on the specific context and the challenges faced, it could be implemented on various scalable factors. As per historical data from IEA and World Bank, it has been found that the clean cooking is mostly needed in developing regions, particularly in rural areas of low and middle income countries. The highest demand for clean cooking solutions is found in sub-Saharan Africa, South and Southeast Asia, countries like India, Bangladesh, Nepal, where countries have large population dependent on traditional cooking practices such as open fires or inefficient stoves fueled by biomass. The use of solid fuels for cooking leads to severe health problems and environmental degradation. Countries in Southeast Asia, including Indonesia, Cambodia, and Myanmar, also face challenges related to traditional cooking practices. The use of solid biomass fuels such as wood and charcoal contributes to deforestation and adversely affects the air quality in every way. Latin America and the Caribbean also have some demand for those electrical biomass stoves, so which could be improved to a greater extent. Now, let's talk about when to implement and what will be the pace of the implementation to reap the benefits of clean cooking on a bigger scale. The electrification of the residential sector is an ongoing process that can be implemented gradually over the time. It requires a phased approach starting with priority areas and communities where the impact will be significant. The timeline for implementation will depend on factors such as available resources, policy frameworks, technological advancements, and community engagement. It is essential to set realistic goals and milestones to track progress towards achieving universal access to clean cooking through electrification. As we already cited about the historical data about access to clean cooking, to get the access to clean cooking data on a global scale, please check the IEO website or World Bank database link as shown in the screen. Now that we have some background information on some crucial WH questions related to residential clean cooking, the ultimate question will arise that how to implement or do the capacity expansion considering this technology. The electrification of the residential sector can be achieved through various means. It involves expanding access to electricity infrastructure, ensuring reliable and affordable electricity supply, promoting the use of electric stoves and appliances that is clean cooking, phasing out low-efficient and high-emission cooking alternatives, and raising awareness about the benefits of clean cooking. This may require investments in power generation, transmission, and distribution infrastructures, as well as the promotion of renewable energy sources. It is important to note that while clean cooking is needed in these regions, there may be also pockets for need within the countries where access to clean cooking technologies is limited, even in more urban or developed areas. Addressing the clean cooking challenge requires a comprehensive approach that includes awareness campaigns, policy support, investment in infrastructure, and the promotion of affordable and efficient clean cooking technologies. Now that we have a fair share of basics and background on residential clean cooking, some crucial WH questions and also the concerns, let's discuss more about the policy context with an example of a hypothetical policy implementation with our model. Let's continue with our exercise. In this part, we are analyzing an example policy of a country named Alphabets. The government of Alphabets is facing significant challenges related to indoor air pollution and the adverse health effects associated with traditional cooking practices. Particularly the use of solid fuels such as charcoal or firewood is currently at an alarming state. To address this issue, the government has identified the promotion of cooking technologies as a priority, with a specific focus on increasing the adoption of residential electric stoves. A new policy has been implemented that states that applicable appliances in residential sector must be replaced by the clean cooking technology alternatives, depending on the available options in the local market. This policy context actually outlines a hypothetical approach to incentivize the transition to clean cooking alternatives. That includes electric stoves, induction cooktops, biogas cookers, improved cookstoves, or other renewable-based cooking solutions that have been identified as clean and efficient alternatives to traditional biomass-based cooking methods. The government also announced a subsidy program to promote the adoption of clean cooking technologies by the mass people. This announcement complements the government's commitment to make clean cooking solutions more affordable and accessible to households, particularly those in low-income communities. Assuming that the said products market is competitive and mentioned technologies are readily available or to be introduced in the market with a fair price tags. And by the end of this exercise, you will be able to do the following in OSeMOSYS. Model the energy efficiency policy implementation on a starter kit, identifying and modifying the data and parameters affected by the policy inclusions, implementing the technology-specific constraints to model real-world alike energy transitions. Now, let's get on track for translating our hypothetical policy into modeling parameters. Before we dive onto that, it is to be mentioned here that this is an oversimplified way of policy translation which is designed for the modelers who just started practicing modeling osmosis at a learning stage. Translating real-world policies may involve much more parameters and depth in analysis to mimic the real-world concerns and complexities. In our exercise, you can find that we have divided our demand in some major sectors that are transport, industrial, commercial, and residential. To model clean cooking in the osmosis model, you need to consider several key elements related to clean cooking technologies and their integration into the reference energy system. This is the overview of the steps to incorporate clean cooking into the osmosis model. Before we start working with the parameters, let's have a quick look on our example reference energy system to have a better comprehension of this exercise. As we know, modeling requires a reference energy system, and for our specific exercise, this is the reference energy system that mimics a simplified system. Let's have a closer look on the energy transfer stages before we deep dive into the parameters. In areas, there are stages of energy transfer, and in this diagram, we have marked them as commodities. And the commodities are being transferred from one form of energy to another with the help of technologies. And technologies certainly have some efficiencies and activities to produce such amount of energy. And finally, that energy is being transferred to the consumers and being consumed by the end user technologies. Now, let's recall translating policy into modeling parameters and the simplified steps that we will be talking about. So this contains two major steps, which includes identifying the cooking sector, setting up the cooking technologies, commodities, and associated parameters. Let's talk about the first component. First of all, identify the specific sector within the model that represents the clean cooking energy demand. Check the right side of the sample and reference energy system to find the end-use sectors and identify the concerned end-use sector. For this exercise, we are narrowing down our focus on the sector that captures the energy demand and technologies associated with cooking activities. Therefore, our sector is residential sector, or in short, RES. Just a caution here not to mix up reference energy system short form RES with this short form from this sector. Now that we found our focus sector, let's find the parameters in the model, which is our step 2. But before we start setting up parameters, let's have a quick look on the reference energy system within our focus area. You can say this is a cropped version of the full reference energy system. Now that we have found our focus sector, let's find the parameters in the model, which is our step 2. But before we start setting up parameters, let's have a quick look on the reference energy system within our focus area. You can say this is a cropped version of the full reference energy system. Here, we can see our cropped version of the reference energy system, which comprises of the necessary elements for this simplified modeling exercise. We can see that our concerned technologies related to cooking has been listed and shown in the middle of the diagram, and the energy supply resources for each of these technology options have been shown in the left side. And these technologies, after utilizing their resources, produces the energy for the end user, that is residential cooking demand, as shown in the right side of the diagram. In between the transfer of the energy, the fuel or the commodities name is also shown in the diagram. Well, in this exercise, there are 4 technologies that are associated with cooking, and these are unique codes that represent the cooking technology types as we have seen earlier. If you are using Starter Kit by CCG, the technologies listed above have already been defined in sets. You can find the list of sets in the ClickSend Excel interface in the sets sheet. And you can also fit new technologies by revising the additional technology items in the technology sets. You can check all of these lists in your ClickSend Excel interface. Just find the sheet named sets. Now that we have narrowed down the sector and the technologies, let's recall our steps for translating policy to modeling parameters and complete the requisites one by one. First of all, let's retake the technologies again and spot the clean cooking options amongst the available technology pool of cooking. Here, the first one, that is the electric stoves in the clean cooking technology. We can also have another technology which uses electricity, and this is called backstop technology. In modeling paradigm, backstop technology refers to such technologies which acts as a backup or fail-safe solution in case the technologies from the pool fails to supply the required amount of energy. Now, check the sheets named sets of ClickSend Excel interface and find the cooking commodities you want to model. A default and considerable set of commodities are already defined in the starter kit ClickSend file. However, a list of concerned commodities for this exercise is shown here in the right side of the screen. Find these commodities in your ClickSend file and relate the technologies and the commodities in the given diagram of the areas in the screen. Now that we have spotted the technologies and commodities, let's plug in or update the parameters. It is to be mentioned here that most of the parameters have sample data or default values already saved in the CCG starter kit dataset. Moreover, you can have detailed information to model sets and parameters from OSeMOSYS documentations that are referenced in the hands-on documentation of this exercise. Now, regarding the parameters that you want to check our update, let's start with the demand data. The energy demand for clean cooking in your target region or sector can be plugged into the model by analyzing historical data, conducting surveys, or using available literature. The starter kit already has sample data for residential cooking demand. Just go to your parameters sheet in the ClickSend Excel interface and filter accumulated annual demand parameter for RESCKN commodity. RESCKN is the shortcode of our residential cooking demand fuel. For this exercise, the RES here shows respective links between technologies and the commodities, and which links are associated to input activity as well as the output activity. Setting up the link is a very crucial component in osmosis modeling. If you fail to set up the link properly, then the reference energy system diagram as well as the system will show you wrong outputs and you could be misled with the results. So be careful about linking up the required commodities with the technologies with the correct activity ratios. Let's start with the input activity ratio. The input activity ratio is the rate of use of a commodity by a technology as a ratio of the rate of the activity. Further review from osmosis documentation is recommended to learn more about this in detail and how to include efficiency of the technologies via this parameter. Check or update the shown values in your data. Some sample values are already given in your starter kit dataset. Just cross-check the values and update the required fields. Go to your parameters sheet and filter input activity ratio parameter from the respective technologies and fuels as shown in the table. Filter the technologies and fuel and update the values. You can plug in your own assumptions regarding the efficiencies for the parameters. The efficiencies should be real system alike, and these efficiencies could be taken from the rated efficiency of the respective technologies. Now, the output activity ratio is the rate of commodity output from a technology as a ratio of the rate of activity. Go to your parameters sheet and filter output activity ratio parameter from the respective technologies and fuels as shown in the table and update the corresponding values. You can plug in your own assumptions in this parameter as well. But make sure you have plugged in the correct fuels with the correct technologies and ensure the input activity and output activity ratios in a correct manner. Capacity to activity unit is the conversion factor relating the energy that would be produced when one unit of capacity is fully used in 1 year. If capacity is measured in gigawatt and energy in picojoule, for a given technology, then this parameter would have a value of 31.536. Check or update the values in your data for the shown parameter and associated technologies. This is a time-dependent parameter, hence you need not to change it for years, rather than only one value in the time-independent variables columns in your ClickSense. You can find this column just to the left of the starting year of the planning horizon in your ClickSense Excel interface. Okay, we are here all set to run the model and check the results. Here's a quick peek on what you have to do from this stage. However, CCG has detailed video exercise regarding how to run the model step by step and extracting the results step by step. Please go through the detailed video for further step-by-step instructions. Assuming that you have run the model successfully and ready to process the results, let's start the last part of our exercise, that is output extraction. You can find the cooking related outputs in your Excel template of results as extracted from the ClickSense tool. From the result template, find the sheets called Total Capacity Annual and Cooking and Heat sheets to check the visualizations of the results. As you can see from the screen, these sheets could be found in your result template that is given as a default from the ClickSense user interface. If you don't know how to generate the visualizations based on your model results, please go through CCG video lecture on how to run the OSeMOSYS model and visualize results. Some example results regarding energy production, capacity of the cooking technologies has been shown in the exercise for further analysis. Please check the hands-on documentation for how to interpret the results and to make sure you are incorporating the smoothing transition of the technologies over the planning horizon. So there are different strategies you can adopt to make sure that smooth transition of the technologies. To have further detailed analysis of the result, please check the hands-on documentation of this video exercise. This illustration shows a reference data sample that we have used to make sure the smooth transition of the technology. This is kind of an oversimplified way to put the data, but there are other ways you can plug in the data. So make sure you go through the hands-on documentation for further insight on this plot. This video has been prepared to make sure that you learn how to plug in the parameters correctly in osmosis model. This is an oversimplified way of modeling residential cooking, but you can go further beyond that with the help of further video lecture uploaded by CCG. Please stay in touch and enjoy modeling.